Yo guys, welcome to another video. As you can probably tell, it is a lot brighter in here. In that last video I did say there was more lights coming for the garage, and they did show up. So now I have 6 more of these LED light beams around the garage, bringing me to a total of 12. So it is a hell of a lot brighter in here and a lot more pleasant to work in right now. Actually, I guess there's only 11 around the top of the garage, and then I have 1 above my tools here to kind of help out when I'm doing stuff on the bench there. It is an absolute disaster still in terms of organization of my tools and chemicals and all of that. But I personally know where all my tools are, so it's not a big deal. If somebody else tried to wrench in my garage, they would definitely have a hard time finding things, but I know where everything is. There was a slight amount of organizational effort that went into it. It is still far from organized, but maybe one day when I have a little more space or the patience and energy, I will go through all of this and figure it out. But for now, it's gonna stay. And we are gonna get to working on these things. I do have some exciting news and a rather big update about the S13 that I wanna share with you guys. Before we get to that, we're gonna do something quick on the Subaru. I did talk about in the last video when I did the rear interior of this car that I had this center console for it as well that is in much better condition than mine is, and it has the black leather armrest with the red stitching, whereas I have the nasty gray one with the white stitching that I don't like. So, and this is all faded and kind of gross looking. So we're gonna swap this out for that new one and hopefully make the front of this car look as clean as the back does now. Okay, so check it out. Real simple install here. It is literally just take this piece of fabric out of here. There's 2 bolts, or not even bolts, I guess there are 10 mils. 2 screws in the bottom of there, you take those out, and then you just pull up on the e-brake boot here. There should be 1 screw hiding underneath there, and then you just pull it up. All the clips will pop out, and there's obviously the electrical connections underneath. Unplug those, and this thing should just slide out. So this is the underside of the new console that I'm putting in, and the guy I bought it off of actually just cut the harness and left all the plugs in. So I'm just gonna quickly disconnect all of this, and then obviously I'll just plug in my harness, and then it should all be good to go. And I don't blame you if you were watching that last clip yelling at your screen that I'm a dumbass because I didn't have to disconnect all of these plugs. I just had to disconnect this one and that one because this harness plugs in right there. So I didn't have to do all that, but luckily none of them were super stuck in there or anything. It was pretty easy to get them all out. So here's a little side-by-side of mine versus the one that I'm putting in, and honestly the camera really does this one justice and makes it look like it's in just as good a shape. The plastic on this one is definitely in a little bit better shape, and let me tell you, the amount of coffees that have been spilled on that center console, because as you can imagine this car is extremely stiff and I have a severe coffee addiction. The amount of coffees that were in these cup holders and exploded all over this center console, this plastic has seen better days. On the sides here you can tell it's like scratched, very damaged. The armrest is stained. Probably could remove the stains, but like I said, this was a really good deal on this. It's in better shape, so we're gonna throw it in and hopefully it makes it look better up there. And that's that. Super simple install, and everything fit perfectly, no issues, and that looks way better in my opinion, so success. The only one thing that I did notice is that this one, well actually the armrest actually works, like it'll lock and stay closed, whereas mine would not. But it also has an actual aux port right here, which mine does not. I believe that center console is out of a 2012 hatch. If I remember correctly, that's what the part out car was, whereas mine is a 2008. I have this weird setup in mine where it has like the video and left and right audio inputs. So I don't know if that will give me any issues in terms of using an aux cord. I had some weird adapter for this that turned it into an aux cord and then it worked. So hopefully that doesn't give me any issues. I don't imagine it will, so it should be fine. Also, in regard to the Subaru interior, I did say that I was going to be pulling out this Vertex wheel and putting it in the S13. As you can see, this is a pretty beefy hub for the S13, and the Vertex wheel is very deep. Using this hub on the S13 plus that steering wheel would make the steering wheel very, very close to me. I can actually just show you guys quickly. So if I throw this hub on with the steering wheel on, the steering wheel will probably come out to about here, I would say. And then looking at where the mounting points for the seat are, that is going to be very close to my chest, and I personally do not like the steering wheel being that close to me. So I'll probably have to get a more flat face style steering wheel for this, or get a shorter hub and use the Vertex wheel. But honestly, deep down, I didn't really want to use the Vertex wheel anyway, because I know drifting, it's gonna get super worn out, and I've been really trying to take care of this thing. So we'll leave the Subaru there for today. That was a successful little upgrade and install, and I'm sure there'll be more stuff we'll have to come back to on this thing, especially sorting out that side of the car where there's still trim missing and wires and shit everywhere. But that is where we will leave it for today. So I did also say I had some updates on the S13, and there's some pretty exciting ones actually. They're in regard to finally getting started on getting this 1J in the car. Parts are slowly starting to show up for it that I've ordered, starting with actually this little box right here has something very important in it. So a good friend that I have that works over at Fish Racing Tech, they make very legit CD09 to JZ adapters. The ideal one that I would love to use, but it's just not in the budget cards at the moment. Down the road, I will definitely be ordering the Fish Racing Tech adapter. I'm gonna put their Instagram right here so you can check their stuff out. And my friend John that works for them sent me something very important for my setup, which is just this little guy right here, which is my crankshaft adapter and my new pilot bushing. So that gets us one step closer to actually mating the transmission to the JZ. As I'm getting all the parts that I need for this swap, I'm slowly learning that there's a lot of little things like that I can't forget, and that will make everything tie together and go smoothly when it's finally time to start putting everything in the car. He was also nice enough to send me this Fish Racing Tech flag or banner, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm gonna find a spot for right now because it's sick. And it'll be motivation to buy their adapter at some point. Okay, mission failed on trying to find a spot for it because it's a lot bigger than I thought it was, but this is what it looks like. Super sick. It's kind of funny that all I have is the crankshaft adapter and pilot bushing, but I have this now. So we will put this here with the JZ because that is very important. I can't lose that. But onto the bigger topic of discussion. I did also pick up something else that is a little bit bigger for the S13 that I've been waiting for a little while now. Not exactly what I wanted, but we'll talk about that. And that is this guy right here. So I did finally get my hands on a CD transmission for the swap. So now we can get started on putting everything together and get it in the car. I don't have my wiring harness from Wiring Specialties yet, and I also need an ECU, but that can come down the road. I want to start fitting stuff in the bay, and I still need to figure out my radiator and my fan setup. I also need to order the CX Racing front mount intercooler and all the piping for this thing. So there's still a lot to do. Wiring harness and ECU will probably be one of the last things. But I do want to talk about the transmission a little bit because it's not exactly what I wanted. So this is not a CD09. This is an earlier generation CD that I got for extremely cheap, and I know that they're not ideal and it's probably gonna grind at some point. As of right now, apparently it shifts smoothly. I can run it through all the gears right now and it seems fine. It clicks into reverse perfectly fine and everything. But truly you'll never know until it's in the car and you try and shift it. But supposedly it's good. It is an earlier gen, but here's kind of my reasoning behind that. I will be getting a CD09 at some point, 100%. I want to get started on fitting everything in this car and get it running, which I can do with this earlier gen CD. With the budget that I'm kind of working with on this thing, I want to be able to put that money into the wiring harness right now and ECU. And then I can come back to the trans at a later date. If I have to deal with some grinding for the first little bit, I'm really not concerned about it. I'm confident that the trans will work and I'll be able to drive the car and learn in it for a little bit with that trans, and then I can upgrade down the road and get a CD09, but they're just impossible to find right now. and I'm on a bit of a time crunch in terms of the completion date that I set for myself for this car. Everything that I have for the car right now, like the Collins adapter, the clutch, everything like that, will work perfectly fine with this earlier gen. I believe it's probably a CDO6, so it has some of the double coned synchros, but it's not as good as the CDO9, obviously, but it'll do. It'll do for now. It'll get the car running. I can swap the trans at a later date, no problem. But I want to get everything fitted. I want the car running, tuned, and I want to start learning in it, which I can do with that trans. If I really want to, I can actually get this trans rebuilt to the same spec as a CDO9 for probably still, I'd say 3/4 the price of what a CDO9 is going for right now. It is insane how expensive they've gotten. I did also get my hands on an NA2J starter too, which will be needed for the CD. I said in a previous video, but the turbo starters don't fit with the CD, so I did get my hands on one of those. At this point, I do now actually have everything that I need to go ahead and mate the 1JZ to that transmission. Unless I'm forgetting something right now, which I feel like I am, but I don't think I am. The crankshaft adapter I have, new pilot. Oh, the one thing that I might need, I'll have to take off the fork on the trans and figure it out, but I might need a new pivot ball. I believe that one has the one that I need, but I'll have to look into it and make sure it's the right one. I do have the shifter bracket and the shifter that comes on this trans, but I will be getting the CDO9 shifter for this thing so that I don't have to cut my tunnel back, because if I were to leave it with that stock shifter bracket and shifter, from what I've seen, I'll have to cut my tunnel back to about here in order for the shifter to come through properly, which I'm not too keen on doing. And the CDO9 one will use the stock location of the shifter, which I would much prefer. The less I have to cut out of this thing, the better, because it's in such good shape, I would feel bad. So pretty soon here, you can expect a video mating that transmission to this JZ. I just need to make some room in here so I have somewhere to actually do it and store it until it goes into the car. So I think that's where I'm gonna end this video. It's a few days later now, and I was actually just gonna continue filming for this video, but I decided I would edit first and see how long it was, and I talked so damn much that this video is already 12 minutes long. So I'm just gonna end it here and start filming for a new video for next week. So if you enjoyed this video, drop a like so I know, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.